We are very excited to have you all here today. And we have a wonderful guest today, Nijiama Smalls. And she is here with a very powerful message and a wonderful book that she's written. So Nancy, I will let you have a way.
Nijiama, thank you so much for joining us today and inspiring other female leaders.
Thank you. I am so honored to be here with you ladies. It's truly my pleasure.
Wonderful. Nijiama, you've written a very impactful book, The Black Girl's Guide to Healing Emotional Wounds. That is so relevant for women in our time, and not just women, but Black women. Would you mind sharing with us about your story and your struggle and that defining moment that made it necessary to write this book and share your message?
Sure. So it's very interesting. You know, I come from a very unique background that really isn't that unique. You know, I was raised by a single parent. My mom was a single parent. But my grandparents were very much a part of the picture. And, you know, we didn't go to daycare. Our grandparents took care of us when they weren't around. So, and then, you know, there were a lot of things that happened going, you know, during my childhood. Right. And that kind of shaped me and changed me, right? So fast forward a few years when I got married. The first year of my marriage was very hard. Most people say the first year of marriage is difficult. Mine was pure hell. And part of it was me. I brought a lot of toxic learned behavior that I picked up into the marriage. So for example, I saw my mom, she would scream and fight. That was the way she expressed herself when she was frustrated or when she was offended. She would react. She would scream, yell, and argue, right? And so I brought that into my marriage. And my husband wasn't that type of person at all. And so I can clearly remember one day he sat me down and he said, I love you and I chose you, but this isn't, you know, I can't deal with this. And it was at that moment I realized I had to change me. And so I went on this journey of just learning who I was and trying to, and really examining the way I was showing up, not only in my marriage, but in some of my friendships. Because at that point I looked around and realized I had no long-term friendships. Like I was a serial friendship girl. Like I would go for this friendship and then something would happen and I'd be mad and move on to this one. You know, I didn't have any solid long-term friendships, you know? And when I looked back at all of the situations with my friendship, you know what I realized was the problem? Me. And so I went on this journey, and part of it was therapy, part of it was reading self-help books, part of it was just spending a lot of time with myself to heal some of the hurts that was kind of showing up in the way that I interacted with other people and just learning new behaviors. So for example, I learned that men equate love with respect. So when I was yelling and screaming and going crazy at my husband, that translated to him as disrespect. And that's something I did not know. I had no clue. So learning all of that, and then when I had my daughter, I realized then that I wanted to be better for myself, of course, but for her, because she's watching me. She watches my interactions with other women. Like I'm her template, right? Yeah. And I wanted her to be better than me. I wanted her to have long-lasting friendships that she could rely on. I wanted her to be able to sustain herself in a loving relationship and not lose herself. You know what I mean? So I really had, those things kind of really are what made me kind of shift, so to speak. And then once I kind of you know, embarked on a journey. I loved it so much. I enjoyed it. I said, I wanted to share this. I want to share this with other people. And the way in which
Mm.
I chose to share it was through the book. So here I
Amazing.
am.
That's so
Amazing.
inspiring.
It is.
Oh,
And
thank
I
you.
so
Thank
I
you.
so relate to parenting. I think when you become a parent, especially to a girl, you realize just how much work you need to do on yourself so that you
Mm.
don't paint it onto your child. And it's not many women that can actually recognize that. So I applaud you as a mom,
Oh,
because
thank you.
it's so vital as mamas that we see just the impact we have on our children every
Yes,
single day. And it's
absolutely.
not just saying in words, it's who we are. It's
Yes.
who we
Mm.
grew to be. So thank you. I applaud you as a mama. Well done.
Oh,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Nancy. Thank you. I really appreciate that because, as you know, being a mom isn't easy, and you
No,
question yourself. You're like, am I doing this
all
right?
the
Did I say this right? You know, so it's really great. And this is what
time.
having good girlfriends is about, right? Because
Yes.
you know, when you're not feeling enough, and when you're criticizing yourself,
Hmm.
for someone to say, you know what, I applaud you, sis. You know, that's great. You know, that really lifts your spirit. So I really appreciate that.
I
Mm.
it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I think the first step to being an amazing mama is recognizing that you need to work on yourself.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we grew up in generations where we were told how to behave and expected to behave that way, and our parents separated themselves from the responsibility of parenting. And our
Hmm.
generation has gone, actually, it's parenting is about me, not about my child. So
Absolutely.
thank you. That's heartfelt for me. That's something really close to my heart.
Wow, that is
Um,
so powerful.
Naisha, nah, man, I know I'm terrible at this. Naish,
Najma.
Naijama.
Najma,
I'm sorry, I did this
Najma.
because of the word Nigeria. Naijama. Um, your book is entitled um, The Black Girl's Guide to Healing Emotional Wounds. Now, I know that it's easier and it's understandable to you've written it as a relatable space for a woman of color, but your
Hmm.
book has also been read by many women who aren't Black, who've come back
Hmm.
to you and said this book was amazing. So
Hmm.
I just want to ask you, when a woman picks up your book, what state is she in? And how does she benefit from it? What have people come back to you and said?
You know, I've had women read the book that are in all different stages of the journey,
Right.
right?
Okay.
I've had people that are new, you know, just starting out on the journey. Like, where do I begin? What do I do? I know I need to
Yeah.
heal. Where do I begin? So there's that group of women. Then there's those that are kind of in the middle, that are already involved in some therapy and so on, that are already, you know, building up their self-awareness. Then you have those that are on the total opposite end of the spectrum. They're already self-aware. They're already, you know,
Hmm.
self-disciplined and all of that kind of thing. So I meet women that are in all of the different you know, realms
Right.
in terms of
Right.
the journey for the book. And, you know, and that's what really blows me away is
Wow.
the comments, the positive reviews. It's just mind-boggling because, you know, I think, are they talking about the book I wrote? You know, this is like little old me, you
It is
know.
an
But I
amazing
have
book.
so many, yeah, like so many women are like, it's this really changed me.
Hmm.
I would tell you the thing that impacted me the most is there's a young girl
Hmm.
who messages me on Instagram. She said she was in a residential facility,
Right.
and when she was discharged, someone gave her the book. And she said it has been the single thing that has really impacted her life. She's explained that she's been through a lot of childhood trauma,
Right.
and it really changed her. Yeah. And so, you know, I'm not doing this to get rich. I never, honestly, ladies, I didn't, when I was a kid, I never thought I'd write a book. You know, it was just, I want to
Yeah.
share my journey with others.
Uh-huh.
So it's just, it still kind of shocks me when people are like, you know, when they give it praise, because I'm like, really, me? The book I wrote? And sometimes I'm like,
Your
wait a
book
minute,
is
let me see what this is.
amazing, Najima. Your book is amazing. In fact, it's
So,
so good. I'm actually getting it for one of my wee sisters, one of my little sisters, and also getting it for my daughter as well, because I'm building a collection of books for her to understand. Because I'm pretty sure, as a mom, you can relate that we are traumatizing our children in many ways. But I think that that's as God deems it, because they have to do some growing themselves, and there's
Yes.
a reason He brings us together. Um, something that I wanted to, you said something that was just so impactful that I've just, I got so excited just talking about your book and listening to what people say. April, will come back to me. Do you have a question for Naishima?
yes, actually I have several questions. So well, I want to know, what are your biggest takeaways? Like, for someone who is going to go into your book, I'd love for them to know, as a reader, for myself as a reader, you know, what are the things that I can expect on going through your book, that just to top line what it is, because they'll obviously need to delve into the context, but are there any shares that you can give us that they can look forward to in terms of what they can expect from your book?
Sure. I talk a lot about moms because I think, you know, the one relationship that really impacts us as women the most is the relationship that we have with our moms, because, you know, our mom's voice becomes that voice in the back of our head. You know, sometimes when I'm getting dressed, I can still hear my mom saying, "You're wearing that?" And she's like miles away. And I'm like, okay. You know, but I think it's one of the big pieces I wanted women to take away, because I talk to a lot of women that harbor resentment towards their moms, right? Or maybe they don't resent all of mom, but they resented that certain part of her, right? And I think we have to realize that our moms are human beings, they're flawed individuals, and they had their own issues, right? They had their own traumas that they were struggling with, right? And sometimes, unfortunately, that may have been projected onto us. So we have to really look at our relationship with our moms, and really look and see if have I really accepted all of my mom? Have I forgiven my mom? Now, that doesn't mean you don't have boundaries in place.
That's true.
But I know I had to do that. I had to, in order for me to be a good mom to my daughter, I really had to mend the relationship with my mom. Again, she can still get on my nerves.
As they do.
She can still get on my nerves, but you know, I really realized, because for so long I didn't think my mother loved me.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't until maybe 10 years ago I realized that my mother does love me.
Oh, wow.
But for the longest, I grew up believing that my mother didn't love me. And I think that's what drove me to being such a good mom. And I overcompensate with my daughter, right? So I'm every minute I'm like, you know, I love you, right? And there's nothing
I do that too.
you know, because I'm really, I want her to I'm reinforcing that, but we didn't hear that as kids. I didn't, my sister and I, from my mom. But I had to realize, for her, having a roof over her head was love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Taking us shopping. That was her way of showing love. Maybe she didn't say it, and I accept that.
Right. Fair
You know,
enough.
so I think that's one of the things. And I also think we really have to accept ourselves as well. We have to accept all of us, all of ourselves, even the bad parts. We have to accept it. Even the things that happen to us that are ugly, that we're afraid to talk about. We have to accept that thing happened. We have to make peace with it. Because if you don't make peace with it, you're always going to struggle with it. And that struggle gets projected on to others. And another thing, you know, people always comment on the book. I talk about my early dating experiences. They were a mess, child. When I was dating, when I was younger, oh my God. So I'm very candid about some of the bozos. You know, all of us girls have dated the bozos, right? Some of the
Oh yeah.
bozos that I
You're
dated.
not alone. Don't worry, you're not alone.
And I really had to reach and understand why I was attracting the bozos. Like the bozos just weren't falling out of the sky. I was going for the bozos. So what made me become so attracted to the wrong dude? You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
and then again, just how I was showing up in those
Mhm.
relationships, because yeah, they were bozos, but I wasn't, you know, the nice girl in the
Right.
relationship.
Right. You weren't the same.
I wasn't the same. So so a lot of people, you know, when I meet people that have read the book, they always chuckle. They're like, your dating stories are so funny. But the good thing is they're relatable. There's
Yes.
situations that, you know, many of us have been in. Many of us as women, we've been rejected, you know, by the
Yeah.
guy that we thought we would spend forever with, you know, and that's hard, you know, that's hard, especially when you're young, you know.
Yes, it is. It is.
So I have another question, and I think this is the perfect juncture for it. What advice would you give yourself, your younger self, today?
Woo!
Yeah.
I have a list of advice.
Well, let's start with top two. Let's go with top two.
Top two. I I would tell my younger self not to take any guy seriously. Like just have fun, date and have fun. You know, just date to
Right.
have fun.
Okay.
Not,
Okay.
you know, not to think that, oh, this is the one and we're going to be together
Right.
for 50 years. You know, just have fun, you know, enjoy being young and single, you know, and
Right.
instead of being,
So focus on a friendship.
yes, just enjoy it. Just enjoy that
Yeah.
time, because I think I was so committed to wanting to be in a committed relationship
Yeah.
instead of just having that time to be free.
Right.
Do you think that could be a cultural thing where there's
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a pressure to, as soon as you start dating, so what are his intentions? What it, I don't
Yeah,
know. Should I have
exactly.
intentions? Should I ask him his intentions?
Well, I think it's also a
Exactly.
trauma thing, because if you feel like you don't have family, or you don't feel like your mother loves you, or you don't feel those things,
Mhm.
you seek that completion of yourself in a family. And so I think that's why a lot of young mothers end up having like teen pregnancies, and that because they'd even if the guy walks away, they've got this baby, you know, or they feel like that will help complete themselves. And I think it's like a part of our programming is to want a family and want connection. And so
Yeah.
I don't think it comes from a bad place. That's my personal take on it, but I don't know, you know.
No, I completely agree. You know, in psychology, there's a whole attachment theory, right? And it
Right.
is
Yeah.
just what you just said, April. It's when you don't feel that you've had secure attachments growing up, those
Mhm.
feelings don't go away. You look for that in your relationships. And just as you were talking, April, I was just thinking about some of the relationships that was in. I would just get all in. Like, you know, I would get
Exactly.
close with his mom, and his sister and I would hang out. You know, it's like,
Yeah,
why?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's a substitute family.
yeah. We're all seeking a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
family.
totally. And I can totally relate. And I can also, I hear that story, not just for myself, but someone very close to me is in a very, very similar situation where you think, slow down.
Mhm.
You don't have to be 20 years ahead of the relationship. It's only been 4 months.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, absolutely. Just relax. And I think that's how we are programmed as women too. I
Mhm.
think
Hmm.
we think long term, whereas guys
We
kind of
do.
just like, you know, yeah, we're dating today. I don't know what tomorrow brings. Whereas we've already bought, you know, the first date in our minds, we bought the wedding dress, right?
Well, you know, that's amazing. Yeah, it's like women, it's so interesting to me because women are round. We are made of circles.
Uh-huh.
Men think in straight lines, they think in squares. It's like when you look at the bulls, they run in straight lines, like toro,
Mhm.
toro, right? And
Uh-huh.
cows, they know, move in circles. So
Very well put.
you know, it's kind of
Very good
crazy
example.
how we can't help ourselves. And also I think that's our strength. Our strength
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
is
Absolutely.
that we think long term, and that's why
Yes.
well, as we give more power to ourselves as a matriarchal society, which is I believe where we're going long term, you know, because
Yes.
we're going to revisit it with men, you
Mhm.
know, not against men, with men. And I
Yeah.
think that that's how we do it. We're like, okay, no, we're going in a circle. All right, you're going to turn your straight line this way, right? So if you want go that way, I'm going this
Go
way.
that way. Yes, absolutely. I love that. Yes, that's a perfect
Yes,
analogy
very
for it,
well
though.
put. Very well
Yes.
put. Yes.
So we got to just get better at like not trying to go in their straight lines and try to
Exactly.
move in our circles and just say, you know what? This is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. If you don't like it, move your straight line somewhere else.
Yes, that part. Yes. Move the straight line if you don't like it.
Exactly. Exactly. With love and respect.
With love and
We love
respect.
you.
I
Yeah,
release
straight
you and
line.
your straight line to go that way.
Yes.
Yep.
Leave it to Nancy to make it so beautiful and eloquent.
Oh,
I know.
April, you always tease me. You always tease me, and I love it. I do love it. I do. So
Oh, you
your second point, what is your second advice point that you'd give to yourself? Advice that you'd give to yourself?
I would honestly have gone to therapy much earlier. And
Right.
that's one of the things I'm trying to teach my daughter is that you don't have to be in a crisis to go to therapy. Like I want
Right.
her to understand that sometimes you just need to vent, and
Mm-hmm.
you may feel mommy doesn't get you, daddy doesn't get you, your friends don't get you. You go to a therapist. I want her
That's
to know
true.
it's okay.
Yeah.
And my son as well. So I would have gone to therapy earlier, and I would have really tried to understand my mom instead of
Okay.
forcing her to get me. I
Right.
think I would have tried to get her and where she was coming from
Right. That's powerful.
earlier.
Wow. Yeah.
That's yeah. I felt that one. I really did. I think there's a lot of stigma around therapy. Especially I'm in Scotland, and I grew up mostly in the UK and all over. But in the circles that I've been culturally, when you hear therapy, you go to therapists when you've had a trauma with someone passing,
Mhm.
or an accident or something horrible like rape. No one thinks of going to therapy as a place where you can go to be understood.
Mhm. Right.
And I think
Absolutely.
and I think you're telling your daughter that is just amazing because it gives her the option. And I'm going to take that on board as well as raising my own daughter, because sometimes I see that I'm just not getting her, and she's looking at me going, yeah, no, mom. you're not, you just don't get what you think. But I think I have actually, because I try, as women, we think forward, we think ahead. And I think,
Mhm.
well, how am I going to be able to support her in her teen years? Because I don't want her running the streets and getting advice from the wrong people. But now that I've heard that, you can actually say to your child, go and speak to a therapist. And there's someone professional and loving that they can open themselves to and increase their healing so that they can be a whole woman as they grow up, as they mature. And that's my nugget. That is my nugget for today.
Absolutely.
Teach your
Absolutely.
child to be open. Thank you so much, Nijiama. That for me as a mama, gold. Gold.
Oh, awesome.
Thank
And
you.
I don't know how it is in Scotland, but here in the US, amongst the Black community for so long, there was a stigma attached to going to therapy.
Of
And
course.
kind of like what you said, going to therapy, people only went if there was forced by a court order or something. So now
I'm sorry.
it's true. No, it's true. But I'm so grateful. And my friends now, we talk about therapy referrals. Oh, I need a new therapy. Here's mine.
Yeah.
Call my therapist. We're so open and free about it. And I will tell you, I remember my first professional job out of college. I sat in a cubicle next to a white woman, and she and I became friends. And I remember she would rearrange her schedule
Right.
to accommodate her therapy appointments. And I remember
Wow.
I was like, "Oh, you go to therapy?" She was like, "Yeah." Like it was nothing, and I had the shame attached
Yeah.
to it, and I was like, "What do your parents think?" Oh my God! And she was like, "They support it. What do you mean? What do they think?" And so I remember thinking, I wish I had that freedom to go, like, and so, and it took me years to get there. So, I really want, and again, like I said, now things have changed. Like we've become more open to go into therapy. I still think our older generations are kind of like, ugh, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
But,
Absolutely.
and I want people to understand going to therapy is okay. It
Amen.
doesn't mean anything is wrong with you.
Yeah.
No, it's more
I
than
want people,
okay. It's like
it's,
necessary. I mean, honestly, it doesn't even, I mean, it doesn't matter where you are in life in terms of like, if you come from a very, and even a healthy upbringing, because at some point you're going to need guidance and maybe your parents can't guide you in that way. And having a counselor even just help you feel like you're in the right direction is really helpful. And a lot of people don't want to bring that to their friends, and nor should they, because like, yeah, and who do you talk to about your friends, about how to handle something with your friends, right? To another friend,
absolutely.
oh yeah, that's not a ticking time bomb, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
that's
that's a
not a
great way to
betrayal
put it.
trauma waiting to happen. No, of course it's not. Right. Yeah. So like it's very in finding those rare gems of human beings that are like therapists too, it's not always so easy to find. So
No.
it's like it's great to have a therapist as a surrogate if you just
Yeah.
want to look at it that way, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I look at it as like I go to my doctor for all of my annuals, then I go to my therapist. It's all one and the same to me.
Wow.
It's all
Brilliant.
wellness.
Well, thank
I
you
think
so much
what you
for
said.
sharing this. And sorry, continue. What were you saying,
No,
Nancy?
I'm just going to add a little bit. What you said about a cultural perspective and that therapy is not, that it's almost frowned upon. I think the younger generation may be open to it, but certainly those of us born in the 70s and 80s, especially in the Black community, and not just Black in America, but African and in the UK, we're told to suck it up, talk to your friends, and just carry on. And then you hear these quotes, Black women are strong. And it is, we're strong because we've been trained to be, but we don't have to be. And, a lot of Black women are crumbling inside because they're not speaking to someone who can help them with their situation. And so in this platform right now, and under your guidance, wisdom, and advice, ladies, if you have a situation that you don't know how to deal with, find a good therapist who can help you, and just go and have a chat. And that is our advice from the bottom of our hearts. Go and have a conversation. Don't tell anyone that you're going if it makes you feel uncomfortable, but don't suffer in silence because you're worried about what people will think. This is not their life, this is your life. So thanks, Nijiama. Let's get that clear, our fellow Black sisters and our fellow all color sisters, because I don't see in color, but I know that it's very stigmatized within our culture, and we've got to get over that. We've got to get over it, especially if we want to be as impactful as we feel. A lot of us have a purpose on our hearts. We need to get over ourselves and move forward because we're part of a larger body and we have a purpose to fulfill. Sorry, I just felt it really deep in my heart.
Absolutely.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Nancy. Like and it's not funny, funny. It's so interesting and so powerful and so impactful that just by watching you, when we've had our conversations, watching you mother your children and how you are with them, it impacts me. And you're the kind of woman who leads by example. And I feel so blessed to know you and to converse with you every day, to be working with you on this. And it's so beautiful to have you here too, Nijiama. Nijiama. I'm like, I know I'm saying it wrong. As I'm like about to cry. But I just want to say that it's so beautiful to see you both like living with such authenticity and such power, such true power. And thank you so much for everything you've shared so authentically and so vulnerably today. It just makes so much difference in my life. And I know it's going to make a difference in the life of our viewers. And I need you to tell me where we are going to find your book, where can we find you, where can we connect with you, and please share that with our viewers.
Sure, and thank you for those kind words, April. I truly appreciate it. Thank you both, April and Nancy. It's been truly a pleasure chatting with you both. You can find the book, The Black Girl's Guide to Healing Emotional Wounds. It is available on Amazon, Kobo, Walmart.com, BarnesandNobles.com, BooksAMillion.com. All you have to do is Google, really, The Black Girl's Guide to Healing Emotional Wounds, and you'll find it. You can find me. I am on Instagram, Nijiama Smalls in real life. That's where you can find me.
Nijiama.
And you are so
Nijiama.
funny too. You're such a pleasure to like. I want you to do a stand-up or something.
So Nijiama, I know we haven't touched on it, but I just want to very quickly touch on it before we go. So you do speaking engagements as well, and you're a life coach as well, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes,
so ladies,
absolutely.
If you have felt a resonance with Nijiama, which I know I have, you can find her on Instagram, Nijiama Smalls, and if you want her to be involved in a beautiful speaking engagement where she can impact your viewers and listeners, you can contact her that way. I was going to spell her name, but I will ask her to spell her own name because I can't pronounce it half the time. It is Arabic, so I'm not very confident with Arabic. Like, give me romantic languages and Latin, oh, no problem. But Arabia, it's a complete new territory for me. So Nijiama Smalls, how do you spell that so that they can find you? Nijiama.
Sure. Nijiama Smalls in real life. Nijiama is spelled Nijiama, Smalls with the S at the end, in real life. And also you can go to my website too. I forgot to drop my website, NijiamaSmalls.com. Again, Nijiama is spelled Nijiama, Smalls with an S on the end.com.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I have been so blessed.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
So
this
much.
is great.
So thank you all for tuning in to the Female Leadership Breakthrough, and we will see you on the next talk.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.